All right, so folks, thank you very, very much for listening today. On the phone with me, I have Kenneth Cribb. Kenneth is one of the owners of Willy Taco in Spartanburg, South Carolina. And I can say, I have been to Willy Taco. I spent a couple of days there. We filmed Kenneth for our Restaurant Owners Uncored video series. And a few things I'll say while I introduce Kenneth is, number one, this is sort of like a Mexican fusion place in Spartanburg, and their food is phenomenal. And one of the things we'll talk about today is their focus on preparation. But the food's fantastic. The design is really cool. They have just some unique things there that are memorable, and I really enjoyed checking that aspect out. And furthermore, Kenneth is, over all the years that we've been kind of doing the videos and other stuff, he is one of the hardest working guys I've ever come across, and to the point that he inspired me that when I was kind of sitting there and we were filming, I kind of almost wanted to like go bust tables or something, because he's out busting tables, he's filling water, he's talking to guests, he's just got his eye on the place all the time, and he's really focused and works really hard and leads by example. So, just I'm really excited that he was able to do this today. So, Kenneth, thank you.
Oh, you're very welcome. Thanks for thinking of us, and thank you for the kind words. And still remember vividly the visit you guys paid us, I guess about 6 months ago, and thanks for all you and your colleagues at Schedulefly do for us.
Oh yeah, man, sure. We love serving y'all. So folks, Kenneth and I, before we kind of started recording here, we were just talking about the fact that I'm in Charlotte and Kenneth's in Spartanburg, so he's like an hour and a half south of us. And, we just don't get a lot of snow around this part of the country. And we got some today and, maybe an inch or whatever, but, nothing's sticking to the roads. But around here, and it's very true where both of us live, as soon as any snow starts falling, everybody, kind of panics, goes to the store, they clear out the milk, the bread, school shut down, businesses shut down. And the funny thing is, it's like the roads are kind of like if it rained, right now, even though snow is falling. But Kenneth was telling me something interesting about how they really try to stay open on these days, when the roads are not dangerous. And Kenneth, talk a little bit about that, about, why you guys do that and how you get your staff there and all that. I thought that was really fascinating.
Well, for one thing, we're having this conversation about 10:30 in the morning, and as soon as we're finished, I'm going to hit the showers and head into what we hope will be a busy lunch on this snow day. The schools are closed. The roads are just fine. I mean, there's lots of beautiful snow on the lawns and on the tree line and all of that, and it's pretty, but frankly, I mean, there's not much of a reason to be closed today, so we'll be busy, I know. But there have been other days in our brief history, we're a year and 3 months old, where the roads have been pretty bad, and pretty much every business in town closes. But we like to take advantage of that fact and safely open our restaurant and sort of broadcast loud and clear, hey, when others are closed, you can count on Willy Taco to be open, because there are still other people that have to be out in that stuff, whether it's paramedics or firefighters or law enforcement or families in the surrounding neighborhoods that can walk to our restaurant. We're smack dab in the middle of suburbia, and there are lots of neighborhoods, and quite honestly, just like businesses like to close during weather like this, families like to celebrate the snow day, and oftentimes they're not just doing it at home, they're looking for a place to get out. Adults like to pony up to the bar and have fun with their buddies and drink cerveza and tequila, and we love snow days around here. We've gone out of our way to pick up, I would say within a 15-mile radius, staff and take them to work and then take them home after the shift. And we start talking it up heading into the potentially nasty winter season, hey guys, just keep in mind, when everyone else closes, we intend to be open. So, you know, we really haven't had to close at all because of wintry weather, whereas that's kind of the name of the game around here. It was funny, the last bit of icy, snowy, inclement weather we had, which was less than 2 weeks ago. In fact, it was last week. Some of our servers decided to kind of have a preemptive slumber party just based on the forecast. And so, you know, they all probably had a really good time the evening before doing whatever it is they did. But the point is they spent the night under the same roof, and it was a really easy pickup the next morning. You know, those that live out in the hinterland, out in the country, went ahead and, you know, we told them it probably wouldn't be necessary to come in, but those that live nearby, they all kind of bunked up, and we made one pickup for the front of house for that lunch, and we had a lot of fun that day.
That's great, and that was a week ago, and we did get more of the ice here, where the roads were maybe a little bit more dicey, but you guys just went and picked them up. So good planning, and your staff probably enjoy. I mean, that was a good time for them. So.
Oh yeah, and Will, you know, the public was just outspoken in the way they were grateful for us being open.
People want to go. They want to play in the snow maybe with the kids in the morning, but I have 3 kids. Like by lunchtime, you're like, I'm kind of got cabin fever here. I really want to get out. Like I want to go somewhere, but if nothing's open, you're kind of stuck. So that's
exactly.
all. I bet you were probably really busy.
We were really busy, and we made sure that we capitalized on it with our social media as well. Just really creative snow day type posts that pertain to eating tacos and drinking beer and tequila after you build your snowman.
Well, you know, y'all have been good. You know, there's using social media because it's there, and then there's using it because it's an outlet for creativity. And I know y'all have done some neat things. Like I remember when like you said, you're about 15 months old, but when you guys were opening or before you opened or whatever, y'all had some really cool, like funny videos that you made. I mean, I guess you paid somebody to help you produce those. So you put a little money into something, or maybe somebody did it for free or whatever. But they were professionally produced, and they were fun, they were funny, they were engaging, and they were memorable. Which I thought y'all did a good job of that. So is that one of the things you think, you know, like there's like opening and creating buzz and getting people there, which I want to ask you about, and then I want to ask you about, you know, keeping them coming back 15 months later and kind of building that long tail of, you know, recurring customers. But talk a little bit about what you all did before your opening to create some buzz and to get people excited about Willy Taco.
Well, there had been some buzz in the air for quite some time, just word of mouth, because my brother William Cribb and myself and his business partners and a cast of others started this newly expanded Cribb's Kitchen downtown, which was the outgrowth of a very successful, popular 30-seat kind of small bistro that expanded into a 150-plus seat big restaurant, and met some really good success. My brother, who's the chef, and he's one heck of a chef, announced fairly early on after the expansion of Cribb's Kitchen that he wanted to do an upscale Tex-Mex, which, you know, after we really started putting our heads together about it, kind of morphed into what's called a fresh Mex concept. And then the more market research we did and the places that we visited, which I can get into that a little bit later. But as we started refining and producing the menu, it sort of turned into more of a Mexican fusion type concept. But anyway, the people knew just by rumor that basically William Cribb was working on a Mexican type concept, which, you know, was pretty alluring and pretty, you know, it was pretty spectacular because around here we're just used to, you know, the kind of typical Mexican food, you know, refried beans and fajitas and things like that, things that are really good and that we all crave every once in a while, but, you know, certainly not chef inspired. And so, you know, William had really made a name for himself, and people were raving about his restaurant, Cribb's Kitchen. And so anyway, so the word of mouth was in the air. It was just kind of, where is it going to be? Who else is going to be involved? What's it going to be called? Et cetera, et cetera. And that went on for months, if not a year. And then the ownership team was formed. As I mentioned, we did all this market research. We settled on a space. The construction began, and then all of a sudden, people could relate the rumor to an actual physical space. The building started coming together. The very last thing we did was put up the sign, so no one knew the name until, gosh, less than a week. I would say probably a couple of days before we opened. When we opened, we didn't do a huge announcement in the media or on social media or anything like that. We just opened our doors one day, and lo and behold, they came in droves. And then, you know, we had social media current leading up to the opening, just a little bit. And then we, as we were able to develop some really amazing pictures of our restaurant, of our food, of our guests, we started building all this amazing content for social media, but not just with the typical food and restaurant images that you see, you know, advertising specials, things like that. We had one of our partners, Richard Heatley, take the reins of the social media, who is just hilarious. I mean, he's a comedian, and he's extremely bright. And the two of us actually love to bounce ideas off each other for social media. You know, there have been instances where we've taken old movie clips and subbed out the words that are being spoken for words that are mentioning Willy Taco. For instance, we've taken Gone with the Wind, and we've taken Dumb and Dumber, and just some other widely known The Godfather films, and subbed out language referring to Willy Taco. I know you're not just asking about social media, but you know, so yeah, that's, you know, this whole thing just sort of came together, and there's a big buzz about it leading up to it. So we were able to get them in the door just really by reputation, word of mouth, interest, intrigue. But obviously the way you keep them coming back is by blowing them away time after time with your food, beverage, service, staying extremely consistent, and then motivating and grooming a really amazing team of associates to help you tackle the challenges. You know, we've got very little turnover.
Why is that? I mean, you guys, how are you able to do that? Because that's such a hard thing, and it's one thing for you to go out there and you do set a great example and you work extremely hard, and you truly are. You did inspire me. You know, so, but like, how do you, you say you motivate and groom a team of people to do that? It's such a huge part of the business. Like, there's a lot of people with good food, but the service is, you know, lackluster, and that's a huge part of the overall experience that the customer has, and it's such an important part. So how do you do that so well? You may be able to do it early on when everybody's excited, but here you are, you know, almost a year and a half into it. How do you keep people motivated and keep them engaged and working hard every day to make that experience so good for your customers?
Well, it's a really complicated thing, but we started by looking at the actual people that we're activating. There's so many different kinds of people out there, and good people attract good people, and good people come in many different forms. So we try to really indicate or really identify the very best individuals. And, if they have a lot of restaurant experience, great. If they have a ton of restaurant experience, I mean, over a decade, sometimes my initial response is, well, I won't hold that against you. But, we look for people that have transferable skills, if they're college educated or if they've had some success in other fields, or just, if they're involved in the arts, or, just we look for creative, well-spoken, thoughtful, good, kind people and obviously we look for responsible people that we know are going to show up on time and work hard and just be honest with us and be honest with the guests.
Is that you can sort of figure out the first part maybe through interviews, and I want to ask you a little bit about that, and then the second part of like, are they going to show up on time and be responsible? Is that just sort of do you have like a probation period or whatever where you have to just figure out whether that's going to be the case? Because a lot of people say I'm reliable, but then
sure, it happens all the time. But we started with sort of an all-star list of people that we knew in the market that would gladly pick up and come and work with us. And so we had this core group that really still remains today, a year and 3 months into it, of people that we knew personally, that we knew were talented, that, as I've mentioned earlier, were good people, responsible people. And lo and behold, they followed us to Willy Taco. Those people know other people, so referrals really come in hand. And yeah, we've hired a good many, just coming in off the streets. These John and Jane Does that we don't really know, but obviously they've got to start by having some pretty good credentials. Yes, we've got to interview them. I mean, we interview usually about 3 times. 3 different interviews with 3 different managers before we come to a consensus about whether we should hire them or not. And yeah, then there is kind of a 2-week period where we're feeling them out, they're feeling us out. We want to make sure that we feel like they're the best fit for us, and we want them to feel like we're the best fit for them as well. That we're just kind of, go ahead.
Well, when you talk about, you made the comment, you kind of joked that, if somebody says they have a lot of years of experience, you say, I won't hold that against you. But I think that's tell me why you say that. Why? Because that's an important point, I think, to consider when people maybe have done something a long time, maybe they're used to doing it their way. So is that part of why you say that?
It is, and I am pretty much joking about that. But oftentimes you'll have a server come in boasting 15 years of experience, or a bartender coming in with over a decade of experience, or you've seen that over the course of a decade they've worked in 18 different restaurants in the upstate of South Carolina. They're journeymen. And yeah, oftentimes in order to have people kind of fit in with your plan, you've got to have them kind of unlearn some things, kind of correct some bad habits, that sort of grooming that can be difficult at times, kind of like breaking a wild stallion, but that doesn't really happen all that often. We have a pretty common sense system in place, with common sense rules and a lot of perks and just a lot of feel-good activities that go on under our roof, and just a really good team to where, really it's easy to come in and assimilate with our people and with our game plan.
Gotcha. Do you guys? You have 4 partners, right? There are 5 of you.
There are 5 of us. There are 5 partners and 1 very strong general manager.
Okay, gotcha. And then your partnership group, you have a couple of you guys are a little bit younger, or a couple of the guys are a little bit, have a little bit more years, or veteran folks, and so you kind of come at it from, different types of experience,
exactly.
Maybe different perspectives. So there's probably, some good and bad things, and not bad, but like some positive things that make that work really well, and then some challenges that come with that. Talk a little bit about how you all are able to pull that off versus not having sort of like one person who owns and then just kind of directs from there. But you have a good team, and you kind of leverage each other's strengths really well, it seems to me.
Yeah, it's a really beautiful balance. There are 3 of us that are in our early 30s, and there are two of us that are closer to 60. And so it's really this beautiful marriage of youthful exuberance, creativity, spontaneity, grab the bull by the horns, let's go, that is tempered with experience, prudence, thoughtfulness. So it's just a really great balance of skills and life experiences. I think the 3 of us that are in our early 30s have learned a lot from our more seasoned peers. They've been around the block numerous times and have a lot of lessons to impart. And yeah, it's a challenge sometimes, because those of us that are constantly putting these off the wall fun ideas in the pipeline, having our more experienced peers sometimes, poke holes in things, or throw wet blankets on things. It can be frustrating at times, but there's very little of that takes place, and it's almost always done for the right reason. There's just no substitute for experience. So, even though we've us younger ones have seen some limited success in the restaurant business, there's just no accounting for a long tenured experience in this business. I mean, our partners Bill and Eric, who are a little bit older than us, I mean they've experienced 30, 40 years of proven success in the restaurant biz, and so it's just been a beautiful marriage, and it's been a privilege and an honor really for us, because we're getting to cut our teeth kind of right out of the gate, learning from some of the best, and sort of developing skill sets that'll carry us through the rest of our professional careers.
What's something you think you learned from them that maybe you didn't really think about going in, that now you've kind of said, you know what, these guys, they know what they're talking about, and here's something that I may not have thought before that I do now?
Sure. Well, the easiest thing to bring up that comes to mind most immediately is the business side of things. Mm-hmm. We're in the restaurant business. Good food, you must have. Good service, you must have. A beautiful, clean facility, you must have. Amazing ambiance, obviously. But at the end of the day, it's a business. And so, we've started to understand with their leadership, including our general manager, who is in his early 40s, so he's got some years on us too. We're starting to understand the science behind things. We have a very good feel for our food costs, we have a very good feel for our labor costs, for our beverage costs, and so we have the numbers to back up our activities, and we're getting together every week during the one day that we're closed, Monday, for hours to discuss the numbers from the prior week. And we know what a good week looks like, what a bad week looks like. We're knee deep right now in a menu rewrite. We've got all these amazing new dishes we're about to put out and drinks, and but for each one, we've already developed recipes that are costed out. So not only do we know that a product is going to be delicious and beautiful and pleasing to the eyes and to the palate, but we also know what it's going to cost us. And so that's the most immediate response as far as that's concerned. I mean, they bring a certain business understanding and business acumen to the table that just wouldn't really be expected of us young bucks, you know.
Sure, which is such a huge part of it, the business of the business. Now, you guys you're even closed on Mondays in part to, kind of manage that critical piece of the business, right?
Yeah, we're closed on Mondays, and we decided about 2 weeks before we opened our doors, hey guys, I know that we wanted to be a 7-day-a-week thing, but what do you think about closing on Mondays, just so that we have, we bring a professional cleaning crew in to clean the restaurant. We put our heads together and we brainstorm and just synergize in all different kinds of ways. One of our business partners lives in Atlanta, and he's always on the telephone listening in. We're going over the numbers. We've done food inventory. We've done beverage inventory. There's a lot to discuss, and we take that time to kind of reflect on the success of the prior week, and we also focus in on the opportunities that we have to improve. We discuss personnel, and Mondays serve as a really critical time for us to sharpen our game.
I really like that, because I think, there's this idea like, if we're open 7 days and that's, 7 days of revenue and all this kind of stuff, but then you never have the chance to truly stop during the week and just take a breath and say, okay, let's get back to, the important pieces. Let's, like you said, reflect on what's happened.
Right.
Celebrate maybe some things you did well. Think about, okay, well, these are the things we could improve on this week. Like, what a great way to then turn around and you probably just come roaring out of the gates on Tuesday, fired up and ready to roll again. Whereas if it's like a 7-day 365, there's like no chance to really just kind of stop, decompress, and reset every week. So that's
right.
Really smart way to do it. And you guys, it's not myopic, like, because you're not thinking, oh well, we're missing that day of 2-day parts worth of revenue. You're thinking long term, for the long success of this business to endure, this is something that's a critical piece of it. It's just to stop on a weekly basis and do the things you do on Mondays.
Yeah, and to add to that, I mean, it is one day that every single one of our staff members can count on having a day off.
Yeah.
And it's a good day for us too. We get in and work a half day, and take the second half of the day off, and it's we kind of collectively lick our wounds from the prior week, and like you said, yeah, we hit the ground running Tuesday morning.
Awesome. Tell me, I want to talk a little bit about the market research you all did, because you spent a lot of time, as you put together, and it's cool. Like, you had a good advantage that William, your brother, had built a successful restaurant, so his name was well known around town. It was popular, so you had this kind of advantage okay, well, when he announces that he's going to, but you still had to go spend, like, it's not like just doing that and going, okay, well, let's do Mexican fusion and we figure out a menu and roll. You actually traveled around to a bunch of places in the Southeast to see what they were doing, get ideas of things that people were doing well, things that, you might just kind of like you could tuck away as brainstorm ideas. So talk about why y'all did that and why it was important to the process of getting
Sure.
Willy started.
That was a really fun part of the process. And, we all had day jobs when we started dreaming this thing up. So we weren't in a huge hurry. I mean, we wanted to strike while the iron was hot, and the talk was out there about this potential new concept. But we started by touring a bunch of really amazing taquerias in the greater Atlanta area. We would visit concepts that we thought were kind of germane to the kind of food and drink and atmosphere we wanted to cultivate. But then we also visited restaurants that weren't necessarily Mexican anything, but that we just liked the feel of them, whether it was the interior or, even the bathrooms, if we like the way they did the bathrooms, or the actual physical bar, the bar top, or the art on the walls, or just the mode of service. So we were just kind of absorbing all these different details, taking notes, sometimes physical, sometimes just mental. Sometimes we would just go into a place and have a good time. But we went to probably, I would say about a dozen places in the greater Atlanta area. And as we were developing our team, one of our guys that we hadn't even really brought him on board yet as far as being our partner, but Richard, who I mentioned earlier, who's in charge of, among other things, the social media, he's the one that lives in the Atlanta area, and they have an abundance of really amazing, fun, fresh restaurant concepts, and he was our tour guide during that first market research stint, and he put together a binder of sort of intel about these different places with pictures and little bullet points, and we just started attacking the Atlanta area, and that was just really eye-opening. We then went down to Charleston, South Carolina, and spent some time at some really great concepts in that area, which is kind of a mecca of restaurant activity. It's really unsurpassed in the United States. We went to some places in Charlotte, your stomping ground. We even went all the way down to Jacksonville, Florida, to a place called Taco Lou, which in many respects is kind of the godfather of our kind of concept of the chef-driven taqueria, and just the sort of the party atmosphere that they bring to the table is really amazing. Taco Lou was really kind. The owners, Don and Debbie Mickle, brought us in during a day when they were closed and gave us a tour of the facilities, kind of showed us the behind-the-scenes details of their operation, and even had us sit in on a tequila training that they were doing by Casa Noble, tequila maker, and sort of the knowledge that we received from Don and Debbie was very valuable. So we had a lot of help along the way, just from really hospitable restaurateurs. Some knew that we were coming, some didn't. We flew under the radar a good bit as well. But the whole time we were just learning all that we could about how other people did their business, and Willy Taco was kind of synthesis of things that we liked, that we saw on the road. We avoided things that we didn't like, and we already had a pretty good menu in the work. My brother William's food is phenomenal, and we just picked up on a lot of crucial details out there, learning from other restaurateurs.
What is an example of something you guys learned? Like when you say crucial, like what do you mean? Like service details or food details, or just like what?
Well, it was more. It's hard to pick up on actual concrete things, but we would know the way some people did their uniforms, for instance, front of house. Some had bistro aprons, some had no aprons at all. Some were conservative, some were loud. We noticed the music, we noticed just the atmosphere. We obviously noticed what was on our plates. Some people did corn tortillas, other people did flour tortillas. Some people quickly fried their tortillas, standard. It was clear that some products were frozen or whatever and brought in. Others we could tell were extremely fresh. It was more just kind of taking our approach and gaining reinforcement or confidence by comparing what we intended to do versus what others were doing. We could go back and look at a menu item, for instance, and compare ours to theirs and say, oh man, they do it pretty well, but gosh, what we're doing here is so good, and I'm so glad that we're doing it this way. Just taking things other people were doing and just using those lessons to kind of sharpen what we already had in mind. That's kind of a convoluted way of answering your question, but nothing immediately comes to mind. Just sort of details reinforcing other details.
No, that makes sense. I hear it. That makes total sense. So that was clearly just a really, I'm imagining you would agree that was a really important piece, was to take the time to do that. And clearly you all learned a lot. Some of it through osmosis, some of it through specificity, and, something you liked or didn't like or whatever. But I would imagine would you say that if somebody was, able to and was thinking of starting their own place and had the wherewithal and the time and perhaps maybe the funds to do it, that's an important piece of the process?
Taking the time to do market research?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that any successful restaurateur is a student of the game, and whether you're if you talk to any of us, I think that we would all agree that our favorite thing to do during our downtime is go eat and drink in other people's establishments. And so, we're foodies, and we like good food and a good atmosphere and good service. So, it might be as simple as just taking mental notes on the way your favorite establishments conduct business, just from the eyes of a guest, to getting out, getting on the internet, and doing the research. The internet makes things pretty easy. You can look at what people are doing in major markets out there. There are a lot of great websites out there. There's Facebook, and social media. So you can either pound the pavement and actively go on field trips, which, if you have the time and resources to do that, it's invaluable. Take to-go menus, collect as much data as you can, surf the web, and then just be a more alert consumer when you're out in the field at your favorite eateries and watering holes,
I like that. Every successful restaurateur is a student of the game. I really like that a lot. That's a really good way to put it. Well, one more thing. I know you're busy, and I want to let you go, but I do want to ask you before you go in and enjoy the quote snow day. Like I've heard people talk about, whether to work on the business or work in the business, and you do both. And you've talked a little bit about, particularly on Mondays, you're very much working on the business, but you very much work in the business, not just as it was interesting because I know when we did the interview for the videos, you talked about how like you spend, and I saw, you spend a lot of time in the front of the house, you spend a lot of time visiting guests, but it's not just, like you said, it's not just like you might get in some places where you would say, hi, I'm Kenneth, how are you today, how was your food, sort of this like scripted thing that you get. Any of us that go out and eat, you get that in certain places, and you're kind of like, this guy is just going through the motions and following a script and doing, like checking off a checklist. But you kind of go and you're like you said to me, I take refilling waters is a way to engage my customers. And I thought that was really cool because you have, like, you're providing some value, you're giving them more water, but then that's your opportunity to talk to them, and you have a meaningful conversation. But talk about why you do everything from the waters to, you'll take sauces out or, run food out or bus tables or whatever. Like, why do you think that's an important thing for you? Do you just enjoy it, or do you think it's, important for you to show leadership that way, or, why are you doing that?
Yeah, for a few different reasons. Doing those physical things all over the restaurant allow you to really have your hand in the overall front of house operations of the restaurant, which things are going to be done to your standard if people are just able to kind of mimic what you're doing, or if you're just filling in those roles from time to time, whether I'm the one putting a personal touch on greeting and seating a table. I'm out there bussing tables, making sure they're clean, but keeping an eye on things in the dining room, looking for body language, making sure there aren't slow greets, things like that. Pre-bussing, running food. Those are all opportunities to make sure that these little things are being done well. But as you're doing them, you're also keeping an eye on the entire dining room. And they're also really good opportunities to touch tables, to have interactions with guests. Sometimes they're as simple as a how is everything, or thank you so much for coming out, or what do you think about this special here that we're doing today? Love to get your feedback on that. Or, man, you did a good job cleaning your plate. Good job, brother. Something playful, but it's genuine. And it's short and sweet unless they sort of invite you into a longer conversation. I'm very cognizant of the fact that our guests aren't coming necessarily to dine with me. They're coming to dine with each other and to experience what we do in our dining room. But those gestures, the big smile, the eye contact, the heartfelt thank you, those things do not go unnoticed by the guest. And those are more impactful to me than just coming up and sort of cold calling on tables and saying, well, hey, I'm the manager on duty. How was everything? The scripted sort of drudgery of sort of business as usual that you find in other restaurants that we've all experienced. I mean, what's more invasive to your dining experience than some manager coming up to your table and sort of without permission taking up 15 minutes of your dining experience, just spouting out, scripted robot language,
Yeah.
So yeah, and also though, Will, I mean, it's leading by example. You really can earn the trust and respect of your colleagues if they know that you've got their back and that you're working just as hard as they are. In fact, you're doing a lot of the less glorious type work, the busting of the tables. If there's a spill, I mean, I'm quick to grab something to clean it up, checking on the restrooms to make sure they're tidy, running food. In many ways, what I'm trying to do is do all the mundane stuff so that it leaves our service staff with nothing but time to spend with the guests.
Yeah, that's good, man. Well, you do. I mean, you really do. And I know you've heard me say that before a lot, but I mean, I really was very inspired when I was there. I told Luke's our film guy for those of you listening, so while he's filming and I'm kind of sitting there with not a lot to do but maybe read or something, I literally kind of was like, I just kind of want to go work with it because it like got me fired up. So it's awesome to see, man. So, well, listen, thank you and good luck today. I'm sitting here looking out, and I imagine the same as in Spartanburg. There's like a dusting of snow, maybe a half an inch. The roads are completely fine. So all these things are closed. So I hope you guys crush it today. But thanks for taking the time, man. You're awesome. You guys are awesome. You have an awesome team there. There's like 20 other things I want to talk to you about. So maybe we'll do another one of these one time.
God, I
do respect your time, man. So thank you.
Oh, please. You guys are always here for us, and we love the work you guys do, and I'm here for you. Anytime you want to talk about Willy Taco in the future, we love what's going on at 930 East Main Street in Spartanburg, South Carolina. Lots of good things happening. So, if you're ever in the area, please come join us.
Dude, check it out. That's right. Yeah, dude, because you will not regret it. It's awesome food. It's awesome service. Everything about that place is really cool. So if you're in Spartanburg or even Greenville, South Carolina, kind of neighboring Greenville, just go there and you will enjoy it. I guarantee it. So, Kenneth, thank you, man, and thank you to everybody on your team. We appreciate it.
Thanks so much, Will.
All right, man. See you.
See you, bud.